Welcome to the Valve Bounce. I am here, I'm Steve, and this is Damo.
G'day, how are you?
We are back for 2024. We've already done a Supercars podcast, but we're straight into the Formula One, Damo.
Yes, well, we've got to give some updates on what's happening because it was pretty quiet for a little bit and then all hell broke loose.
What do you mean all hell broke loose? There's been no changes on the grid. What's going on?
Gin, I can't do anything else. Really bad impression, I know.
Gin. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to try.
Yeah. Fuck smash.
What is happening there? Why would you get rid of your marketing guy, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, here's my vision. I heard the news, sort of was processing it, and then I just thought, everybody at the Netflix Drive to Survive team are just like going, oh, God, what are we going to do? They've got nothing.
Netflix. Shit.
But you're right, yeah. Like, he would have to be, in my opinion, such a terrible team manager or leader of that organisation to get rid of him because of the benefits that he would be bringing a fledgling team, right? Who would get no attention, nothing, if it wasn't for if it wasn't for Gunter.
For Gunter.
And I just, is Gene, there's the old saying, how up is, and Gene is pretty damn screwed at the moment. I don't know what he's thinking.
Look, you know what happens when people get older, right? You know, they go a little bit funny in the head, they make silly decisions. I mean, he's made some great decisions in his life. He's a billionaire, so clearly he's done right. But maybe, just maybe, the screws are coming a bit loose now and he's getting rid of people that, he's gotten rid of the one person that people actually like in his team. Because they don't like the actual team.
No. I'm really lost as to what he's thinking and the comments that he's made that really just I think the whole paddock, so other team bosses, etc. I think the media in the paddock, I think they're all confused and trying to figure out what is he thinking in this move and how does he actually think that it's going to improve his situation. Now, other than cutting, I think there was 2 individuals that end up going, so 2 people out of the org, you save those salaries. I don't think there's any other benefit of making this move, and it just screams to me that he's not the right guy. The other team should have a veto vote or the FIA to say you're not really participating, you're not involved. Let's give it to Andretti.
Yeah, and that's, I suppose, the biggest argument, isn't it? You've got Gunter, who's been very respectable in what he's said so far. You can see in some of the interviews he's had, I think it was one on the F1 site, that he was quite emotional and had to gather himself up a little bit. I don't understand why Gene has gone this path. He really needs to start looking like he wants to improve the team and wants to move forward. I know he says, we can move forward, we've got enough resources and this and that. It's flat out when the race confirms basically that all the resources in the background, so all the wind tunnels, all that are basically old hat and well behind any of his other teams that are on the grid. You're not going to catch up with your current resources. It's not a possibility. You need to invest, and he doesn't look like he wants to invest.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I think he's trying to say that the money that he has invested and the sponsorship dollars they've got, they should be further up the grid. And I just, if you look at what they get from Ferrari, the one thing that they have to do themselves is the aero. And we've seen basically they're really fast on a qualifying lap, so they can extract the best out of it. But the aero doesn't work for the tyres, and it chews through it. So during a race, they're nowhere. And they need investment. They need skill set to actually improve the aero of the car and get it to a point where they can actually move forward. And so, yeah, I don't. There's no positive outcome from this move other than maybe Gene's back pocket, and that would be it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been reported throughout that just existing basically means money comes into him. So just existing on the F1 grid is good enough. And Formula One has never been a category where just existing is good enough, and I don't think that's something we should be advocating. I think that needs to probably be a clause somewhere in a contract that if you're on an F1 grid, you need to be constantly developing and trying to push forward, or at least actually look like you are. So, investing in the back end and your team to give them the best possible chance of moving forward. But he just really doesn't. I don't know about you, but anytime I've ever seen any interview with him or anything like that, it's very not connected, not interested, doesn't actually understand what's happening within the team. It's just it exists and it's there, and it brings money to his automation team or whatever it is that he does outside of it, and that's all he cares about. So the team doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's given that that vibe in interviews I've seen as well, and I think it's funny you talk about like a clause or something. Formula One has always been about, and I know of cost containment and stuff now, but it's always been about spend the money, go faster, be the pinnacle of engineering, and extract everything from the car, from the rule book. It's always been about that excellence, and he's not bringing any of that to it. Even in the conversations he has had, and in the way he departed, in some of the statements that were made, terrible communication. It's just been so bad that he's not exuding any of the F1 kind of feel or vibe that you see from any of the other teams. And I think whether it's a relegation thing or the books are all open now. They have to show what they've spent, to sit inside the cost containment. There must be a way of actually setting up rules to say, you're not investing enough, we can see it, and it's not part of F1. So you either make the investment, step up and improve, or you're out.
Yeah, there's just got to be, I suppose, a KPI or something, where there's a level that they need to be sort of at. And look, don't get me wrong, they are competitive in the sense of, they've got one lap, but they fall to the bottom of the heap pretty quickly, and it just, I don't know. I mean, we're getting onto Haas being not really fit for being on track, but all the moves when you're removing people that theoretically are your best asset at this given point. It's not a good look, and it's not good for Formula One either, in my opinion. As small as that opinion is.
But we're giving it, so who cares?
Well, probably enough on that in terms of the downs of, I suppose, the end of 2023 when poor Gunter found that out. Moving on to something that, for my birthday, mate, McLaren gave me a livery.
They did. It is your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks,
and
mate.
How weird was that? I thought they had a launch date in Feb. The day before this launch, which has happened today, was like a wiping of their Instagram. I was totally. I'm like, what are they trying to do? Like, is the team folding? What's happening? It just
folding.
was so weird that. But as usual with McLaren, I guess they do things the right way, and that big video and launch sequence was was pretty impressive.
Yeah, exactly. I think the actual launch itself, to be honest, they're not revealing a car, so it is just a livery. So I think they've done the right thing where they've just shown that it's just a livery, and I'd much rather that than the big extravaganza. Oh, here's our new car, and it's just a livery. That annoys the crap out of me. If you're going to launch a car, launch a car.
Red Bull.
But it's. I think it actually looks okay. I think it's poor in some areas and good in others. I'm glad they got rid of the blue because I think the blue just made it look a bit clown car-ish in previous years. So I think it's a clean-up. It's a step in the right direction. I'm not sure about the chrome numbers.
Yeah, I reckon that's probably the biggest thing that people are talking about is the chrome numbers, that they just don't think it works.
No.
I think last year not having any colour to the number, so they basically just cut out the orange that was around it to get the number. That wasn't really great either, but look, we'll see how it looks on track. The night races, I'm sure it's probably going to work better than the day races, but I can't say. I think everything else looks pretty good. Nothing blew my mind about it. I thought it was really nice. I think it's an improvement on last year, but just the numbers are a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, just a funny, I don't know, version, I guess, but, I mean, this isn't new to all forms of motorsport, I feel, where the numbers have become this small, insignificant thing, whereas I actually feel like they're more important than you think, because it's the way we identify them on track and running around. So I would like to see a return to some better fonts and stronger numbers so that we can actually tell where everyone is, especially with the halo in F1. It's hard to see a helmet these days. So so that's good. I'm happy with it. So moving on, then we have. I'll let you take this one, mate. This is all you.
This is all me. I put it in there. You shared a post, and look, we haven't really validated too much, but there are whispers, rumours, maybe real, and then we can add a conspiracy theory to the end of it. Apparently, Aramco have basically said to Lawrence Stroll, you need to make sure your son hits certain race results, or we want another driver, because we're not getting the return on investment that we feel is right for the money we're investing. Now, big investment from Aramco. They're a massive company. I think possibly the largest. They're bigger than the tech companies, I think. It always fluctuates a little bit, but I think they're the largest or the most profitable, like over $1 trillion in cash, and like just massive oil money. So they're obviously pulling a lot of strings, and I'm here for it. I think it's the silent elephant in the room, if you like. It's the silent little bullet that needs to happen, because people for years have talked about, whilst he's a good driver, there's other drivers out there that deserve an F1 gig, and so if it is true, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Again, it is a rumour, but it was reported by a pretty good source. So I would say where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think that needs to happen, because he can't roll around like he was last year, really not being competitive, and then having hissy fits in the back of the garage. So, it's an interesting one. I feel for Stroll, but I don't. I think it's probably time for him to move on. He's sort of occupied a seat for long enough, in my opinion, without doing anything great. I hope it's true. I will throw out, I know we're going to get into predictions for this year a little bit later, but I'm going to go predictions 2025, Alonso Tsunoda.
Ooh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I don't think Stroll will be there next year.
There you go. Interesting.
So that's how strongly I feel about
about the way it's going to unfold.
But that is not anything but what I feel. It's got nothing to do with F1. I've not heard anything. It's just that's what I think will end up happening.
That's what you think. Yeah. Well, I mean, the small conspiracy theory also that maybe I just thought of is that maybe Lawrence didn't have the balls to tell his son he couldn't be there, and forced his hand through the sponsor. Maybe that's what's happening. But look, he's a bit of a, he comes across as a bit of a Bond villain. So, I'm sure he's more than capable of telling his son, No.
I would say he's more than capable, but
he's not doing it.
He's not doing it. He hasn't done it for years. Look, it's a conspiracy theory, and if I had a tinfoil hat right now, I'd put it on. But highly probable. I mean, if I was him and I didn't want my son to realise that I don't want him in the team, I'd go to the sponsor and say, "Hey, let's sort out a couple of targets, and if it's not met, we can then change it because it's your idea, not mine."
Good thinking. Yes.
Too funny.
I wanted to just touch on, because a bit of a lighthearted thing before we move into the predictions for 2024, but I just think we only have a couple of real characters, right, in the F1 paddock, but just the social media effort.
What? Sorry.
What? You said what?
Sorry.
To be honest, he is really good. Like when you see him engage more casually, like with Ricardo and stuff. But but his actual racing demeanor is terrible. Yeah. But I got a call that Bottas is the coolest cat in the paddock. I think Danny Rick is pretty cool, and he obviously lifts the profile of the sport. But I think they're underutilizing Bottas. Seeing the montage of him getting his mullet redone in Australia in Adelaide, getting blonde dyed hair, I just think it really is. It's a great way to kick off the season, and I think F1 need to utilise him a little bit more since he's opened up after his Mercedes era.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree with that. I need to see less of his cheeks, though. Sorry, Bottas, but
Bottas.
I'm not a fan of your ass. But no, I agree. I think his personality's really shone through in his second lease of life. I know he's at the back of the grid and people get annoyed with that, but I think you've got to remember where that team is at as well at this given point, and I definitely think he's a character, and F1 could do a lot to. They could do a lot to show up a lot of different individuals at the back of the grid rather than completely focusing on the front. I think that's the case in all motorsport, though, isn't it? Really,
True.
We should be learning about all of the people within F1 and what's going on. I think he's definitely underutilised like so many. Yep,
agreed. Okay, off to the 2024 predictions,
2024 predictions. Now, if some of you may have watched the Supercars one, so it's going to be very similar to that. Thank you for watching both, by the way, if you did, or listening to us on the pod. We're going to go through 2024 predictions, crystal balling. We've got Driver Championship winner, obviously Constructors Champ winner, because Formula 1 do that. I know Supercars do, but not very well. And then we're going to have potential first race winners, which is probably harder in F1, but we'll see how we go with that. And then biggest improver from 2023, and then biggest flop team or driver will be the last one. So get in the comments. I want to know, we want to know what you guys think, and we'll come back to this at the end of the year as long as we don't forget, and and go through them. So awesome. You want to kick it off, Damo?
Yeah, Drivers' Championship winner. I'm trying not to be boring. I do think Red Bull and Max will probably end up taking it out. But if I could do a little bit of a more of a want as opposed to what I think might just pan out to be a pretty similar boring year, is that I hope that McLaren's advancement over the summer break is as good as or our summer break, their winter break, I should say, because their summer break yielded so much for them as a manufacturer. So I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball and say Oscar Piastri. If McLaren's car can be as strong as Red Bull, I reckon he's the guy that's going to
championship winner straight out of the box. Wow. That's a big call.
Massive.
Look, I love Piastri, and I'd love nothing more than to see that. But that might be crystal balling a little hard.
A little hard. Well, I'll throw it out there. Hey, see how we go.
No, that's it. Look, hey, if it comes, hats off. Definitely. No, very good, very good. All right, well, that's interesting. All right, I'm sort of left of field. Look, Drivers' Championship winner. This is so difficult.
It is.
So difficult. All right, I am not a fanboy at all, even though some people think I am. But I am backing Mercedes to get their shit together.
Yep.
And I'm going to back Lewis Hamilton to claim that 8th.
Yeah. I think that's a great one. And to be honest, I really hope it happens because I think that's all that's holding Hamilton in Formula One at the moment. I think he wants that record. And then I think that potentially opens the door for him to retire. But yeah, I think that's a really solid guess. I think that's probably a good one to go for.
I just, as I said, I mean, for people don't understand, that end to that 2021 season drove me absolutely crazy, as it did for a few others. And it's not because I was Lewis Hamilton fanboy, it was more that I just didn't like Max Verstappen.
The hate is strong.
The hate is strong. Come to the dark side. It's. I think you're right. I think what's holding him in F1 is that he wants that 8th championship. And the other reason I actually want to see him claim it is I think a really big battle would unfold throughout the year between Max and him. That would be, again, quite good to watch because, as we know, whenever they're on track together, there's fireworks. So, I'd love to see that. And then throw in a couple of McLarens and maybe a couple of Ferraris, and we could have an incredible championship season. But Lewis is my pick for the drivers. But moving on from that, Constructors Championship winner, Damo.
Yes. Well, I think this one is more reasonable, but I think if it's not Red Bull, I think McLaren look likely to. I think having two strong drivers getting results all the time, I'm sure there's going to be more friction between those two drivers this year because as Oscar gets better, it's going to be harder for Lando. But I just think the pair of them, are probably amongst the strongest pairing. It's really hard to sort of make that call so early in Oscar's career. But I think if you look at like a Hamilton versus Russell, you look at the Ferrari pair, I think they're a really strong chance to, if the car's right, to just be solid all year and to snag a constructors win.
I am massively keen to see the cars, massively keen, and to see testing because, like you, I feel like McLaren hit the ground running, and Mercedes stuff up again or Ferrari don't get it right. They are 100% on target for actually getting the constructors because that end of last season was massive in terms of results for that team. Yeah. So I agree. I think, hard to go past that, mate. I'm probably with you on the constructors. I think McLaren could pull it out of the bag.
Very nice.
So we will see. It goes against my Lewis Hamilton winning philosophy, but I think
championships can be won, and from a drivers and different people end up the constructors. So we saw that with Red Bull for many years. So
yes, and look, George wasn't that great last year, so we'll see what happens there. But it could be interesting. All right, so let's move on to first race winner prediction, Damo. What do you think for a first race winner? Do you think anyone will actually do it? And if so,
I definitely. I think this is stronger than our predictions for the supercars because I think there's quite a few options there. Now, in our list, we haven't included everyone because Formula One is a bit more segmented in terms of possible race winners,
outcomes.
And so we've thrown. In terms of names, Alex Albon, like if Williams pull something out of the bag, they might be able to snag one. Lance Stroll, if he actually gets his shit together, he, provided their car is competitive, should be, right? Or should get close. Lando and Oscar, with a little asterisk, is, he's a sprint winner, but to have a proper race win.
Grand Prix.
And I think those two are the strongest contenders, right, to pull a win out of the bag if we believe what we've spoken about, and McLaren being more competitive. So I will say Lando is going to break the curse, and I think he's finally going to be the bride. That's my prediction. I know I think Oscar is probably there, but I'm taking the bet that you would love for Oscar, and we're probably going to choose him. So I'll say Lando.
Yeah, okay. Yep, no, very good. Look, Oscar, I think, is probably my bet to pick it up. I would love, and again, I'm not against Lando, but I would love to watch Oscar get a first win before him, just because I know that would shit him to tears.
That would.
It'd be quite painful. I don't know why I want to inflict so much pain on you, Lando. I'm sorry, mate. But,
you're taking out on Lando because of the media and the hype that they give him. That's basically what happens. We know that, but
if somebody gets overhyped, then I tend to go the other way. I am a bit that way. Definitely Oscar would be great to see. Based on your prediction of being a world champion, we should see him win many. So
yes,
I'm happy with that too. Australia everywhere, just win.
Imagine a home Grand Prix would be that would be amazing. So
that'd make my year. I could turn off F1 after a home Grand Prix win and just be like, all right, I'm done. It's okay. Don't worry about the podcast.
We're done. We're not watching anything else. We're finishing on a high.
That's it, exactly. Yeah. No, definitely Oscar for that. As for the others, I actually think Albon's probably the next strongest behind the two McLarens for potential candidate to take a race win. And Williams are investing heavily, so it'll be interesting to see what their car comes out like and where it sits in the fold. And actually, just quickly on Albon, a little bit of a rumour that he might be in red in a year or two.
Ooh.
Yes, so I did hear that. I don't know how accurate or inaccurate it is, but that would mean that young Science would be out and Alex would be in. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So
first time hearing of it, and my initial gut feel is I don't know if he's the right person in a Ferrari. I think Albon would be fantastic at McLaren. Not to just displace anyone there, but I think the culture of what he thrives in, Williams, Mercedes, even a little bit of Aston Martin, I think he would be all right. Not sure, Alpine, those sort of ones, I don't think, but that'll be interesting. I mean, imagine that, Sainz. He was a race winner last year, wasn't Charles, so interesting. Wow. There you go. Now on to the biggest improver for 2020 or from 2023. Who do you think is going to take that mantle? Who's your choice, Steve?
Biggest improver. This is difficult because you've got to take into account where the teams might be, everything else, where they actually finished last year compared to what they might be able to do this year. I am going to take a wild stab and say Stake F1, formerly Alfa Romeo, and a young, well, not so young, Valtteri Bottas Valtteri will actually have a much better year. So he'll be the biggest improver. I actually predict he'll finish inside the top 10. I don't know why I just said that. That's silly. But I think he'll finish inside the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship and have a much better season this year.
Right.
That's so wild. What am I doing?
That is very wild. I actually thought it was much simpler task because I've got a little bit of a sneaky little... Now, in terms of teams, I'm going to say AlphaTauri, whatever they end up being, Raging Bulls, whatever. But in terms, I'm going to pick Daniel Ricciardo because he only had a couple of races. He has to improve. And so, just having a full season, naturally he'll be higher up the ladder. But I think some of his input, really, is going to help them step up.
Oh, definitely.
And really push. And I know they've got some aero changes that are coming to try and get better balance out of the car. I think him and AlphaTauri should step up and really solid into the midfield. That's my prediction.
They could quite easily become the second best team.
Well, they could.
So if I was going for a team, I kind of agree. They could make the biggest step of everybody. They could do a McLaren of last year and come out firing because we know they could literally take all the Red Bull parts from last year, slap them on the car, and hey, presto, hey, we're at the front of the grid.
Fuss car.
Fuss car. And look, I'm not against that. Daniel Ricciardo podiums or wins, I'm all for it. Here we are. Cheers. Yep.
Happy days.
Happy days.
Get the shoey going.
Get the shoey going. Look, that's a good call, Damo. I didn't actually even consider the fact that Daniel wasn't on the grid for that long last year and will be so far back that it's almost a guaranteed.
Look, a pretty soft bet in terms of driver, but more so I think just the improvement from having a stable driver there. I think Yuki has really flourished and improved from Daniel being there, so I think 100%. It's a positive outcome.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more.
All right. Now we move to the biggest flop, whether it's team, driver, both. What are your thoughts? Who is going to fail hard?
People are going to hate me.
You say that a lot, and maybe it's true, but just give it to us, all right?
Aston Martin.
Oh, shit.
I think it was a lucky hit on a guess last year. They got the car up where it was at the start, and they lost their way and proved that they don't understand the philosophy that they were trying to go down. And I think everyone will make gains and they will fall back into the clutches of Alpine and probably Haas at the back of the grid.
Oof.
Because I feel like there will be gains across the board in every other team other than those three.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because they obviously were out of the gate, got it quite right. Then their development was a backward step, and then they had to re-go through the process. So it'd be interesting to see what outcome that lands in terms of 2024. So I think they were definitely one that I was going to choose if you didn't. Because, I think you might be on the money there. I think they placed 5th overall, and they're ripe for just getting picked off if they have a bit of a shit to start. So, my biggest flop. Let's talk some hate, shall we?
Oh no.
Not really. I was more in reference to how much hate he receives. As a driver, Lance Stroll, I think he's done.
Can you flop further than he has?
Well, he can lose his drive. So
I suppose that's true. And I did predict that he won't lose his drive. So I guess, fair call.
Yeah. So I think that's not really a real valid one, but it's definitely one. I think his time is probably done. In terms of proper flops, I think... Are we ready? Do I say it? All right. I think Alpine.
Yeah, I agree.
I just, whether I don't hear enough and they're not being reported enough, they just don't seem to have a grasp on the development. They just didn't really make any progress last year. Now, they may have been holding it off for 2024. Maybe they'll come out of the box and they'll be really strong, but they don't give that strong feeling of they kind of know the direction they need to and start implementing. They've had all these changes managerially, so whether that's going to be a good or bad thing, I think finishing 6th last year, I think was reasonably lucky considering the year they had. And so I predict that probably, especially like a Williams and with AlphaTauri coming up, I think they're going to drop down. And the flop is really about the fact that there's so many years that they've been struggling to get this right, and they're still not going to be where they want to be.
What are you saying? I think we got it good. Look at the Hollywood. We got the Hollywood. It's got the Hollywood face. It's okay. We do fine. I don't know where that went. That was terrible. Sorry, I just had Robert Williams in my head and how he was talking about the old Olympics in one of his old skits, and it just kept replaying. I was like, I got to go with it. Sorry to anybody I offended. Okay. I'm not trying to. It's just terrible, I know, but a bit of fun.
Bit of fun, yeah. So that's who I think. So we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, the current regulations really do allow for big steps and big drops, right? So
they do.
Yeah, the testing will be interesting, and then round 1 is going to be pretty. I'll be watching very strongly. We'll get up nice and early for that one, or stay up late, I think it is actually. So stay up late for that one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm really looking forward to this year because it does present like we could have one of the strongest years of F1 in terms of overall championship prospects and so forth. I know everyone's like, oh, but Red Bull just dominated. Yeah, we've seen that happen time and time again in F1, and then suddenly it can revert. Now,
yeah.
I'm not going to say that Red Bull are going to drop off the boil. I don't think so, but they might be getting closer to that ceiling of performance, and it's whether the others can meet that ceiling, and not in one lap performance, because we know everyone's pretty much together on one lap, but it's that race distance performance and how those cars manage the tyres and how the drivers manage the tyres as well. So it'll be really, really interesting to see. We'll see how it goes in round 1. When's round 1 actually kick off, Damo?
Oh, putting me on the spot.
So sorry. I just had the thought in my head. I'm like, wasn't it end of Feb?
No, end of Feb is testing. No, sorry, okay. You're right. To end of 21st to 23rd is testing. Yep. And then round 1 is the 29th of Feb to the 2nd of March. So, yes, so that is Bahrain. March. Yep.
We are not far away. Not far away at all. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, put down your predictions because we need them. Help us out.
We do. Help us. Help us.
Help you.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with friends if you do enjoy it, and we'll keep plugging away.
Until next time, Damien, thank you very much for taking time out of your day.
Thanks.
And we'll speak to you all in the next video.